What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck are you...
Hello, people. So, you remember how I said I wasn't going to talk about Maj0r Lee anymore? That I was kind of thinking about ending that entire discussion? Well, I did. And then I didn't. I need to finish what I started. Yes, I know I still have 32 minus 40, but I still have quite a few minutes left in debunking this travesty of a video that should never have been made by Maj0r Lee, because he has no idea what he's talking about, as I have gone over previously. He has no idea what he's talking about. So, I'm coming back to it. I got my computer set up, I got my phone set up to where I can record everything. I'm gonna debunk the shit out of this again, and I think he just got to a point in the video where he's gonna straw man another person's perspective. I'm gonna get this done. I've made up my mind. I'm gonna get this entire thing done. I'm gonna do a lot more videos on other topics later, since I finally have some alone time. But okay, let's get into the bullshit.
Sized ball of cheese compared to The Last Jedi.
The fuck? You're comparing it to cheese. So you're comparing it to the likes of the original Evil Dead? Even though that movie was a hell of a lot more enjoyable, because it was, one, very low budget, so you can forgive it for a lot of the objective faults, number one. Number two, Bruce Campbell. Number three, Sam Raimi. Alright? The Force Awakens was not cheese. It was a movie that had objective standards, and it failed to meet a lot of those objective standards. What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about that The Force Awakens was cheese? I don't know exactly your view on The Force Awakens, because it seems to me that you either kind of liked it, or you liked it a lot, but you think that The Last Jedi just dwarfs it somehow? Like a gigantic fucking boot on its throat? I don't know. But come on, The Force Awakens was not cheese. It is not cheese compared to The Last Jedi. It is not cheese compared to really anything. It is cheese compared to a lot of other good movies, like, let's say, John Carpenter's The Thing. Yeah. For those of you who love The Thing, I'm going to be dropping a lot of references to that, by the way. Jesus Christ.
That film, all Star Wars, it completely lacked the heart of Star Wars. Yeah, this lacks the heart.
And then he plays a clip of the rip-off of the Death Star run in Episode 6 that happens in the Last Jedi, which, as Smack Talk pointed out, was basically a rip-off of their own scene from Episode 7 when they had Rey flying through the cavern in the Star Destroyer that was going through that. That run was basically a rip-off of not only the Death Star run from Episode 6, it's a rip-off of their own shit. Okay? Alright, and this guy has a point. I don't know who this guy is. I might go check him out later. Like all these other guys that you seem to disdain for having the audacity to not like your film. Oh no, he doesn't like my film. I'm gonna beat the shit out of him with a bunch of strawmans.
This totally isn't Star Warsy at all. This seems more like a scene from No Country for Old Men. I don't know.
Are you... How dare you compare The Last Jedi to the Coen brothers? How dare you compare Rian Johnson to the Coen brothers? I haven't seen No Country for Old Men, but I have seen a couple of Coen brother films. Boy, how dare you? Alright, Big Lebowski, Fargo. Just two examples. Very good films. Very well made films. Very well acted films. Don't come at me with this bullshit. You don't compare Rian Johnson to the Coen brothers, fool. It just don't work like that.
What movie this is supposed to be from? Is this Forrest Gump? I just can't...
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. What a straw man. I know you're joking, but, oh my god. Just because everything looks like Star Wars doesn't mean it feels like Star Wars. The Canto Bight sequence, for example, does not feel like Star Wars, because Star Wars never delved in that type of territory. Top that off, the entire sequence was basically went against a lot of stuff that was previously established, and, like, I don't know, the prequels, the original trilogy, the books now and then. Canto Bight was just popped up out of nowhere for Rian Johnson to freaking masturbate Disney to so they could push an anti-capitalist agenda. Jesus. So yeah, that doesn't feel like Star Wars. It's not that Star Wars hasn't been a catalyst for political opinions before. It has been and always will be. But they always kept it on the down low. They made it visible. They made it a central point, but it didn't matter in the grand scheme. The themes in the original Star Wars had weight because they were connected to the characters and connected to the world. But these don't. Because the only people who keep slaves nowadays are not rich people living in the United States or the Western world. It's in the poorer countries in the third world. Don't believe me? You don't believe me? Go to any African nation, as Alucard so eloquently put it.
That's not what they were going for here.
We're basically starting from the exact same point we started in.
Ben Shapiro! Yes! 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 Oh my god, Ben Shapiro! Yes!
Episode 4, where the Empire is in control, and literally, it is the beginning of Star Wars Episode 4, right? I mean, the Empire ship is chasing, the First Order ship is chasing this transport vessel. Right? It's literally the beginning of Episode 4.
How is this anything like the beginning of Episode 4?
I don't know. The entire chase was the beginning of Episode 4. They started off like the beginning of Episode 5, but after that entire battle, it went into basically the beginning of Episode 4. And there's also a musical cue. I don't know if you missed this. There's a musical cue at the beginning of The Last Jedi, where it plays up like the opening clip from Episode 4. It goes doo 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 doo, and then it goes doo 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 doo, and it does that to a point. All right, so when Ben Shapiro says that it starts off kind of like Episode 4, I'm not blaming him in that it starts like Episode 4, because you watch The Last Jedi as its own film, it feels like Episode 4. That was the vibe I got, was that it felt like Episode 4. Even though the last movie was supposed to be Episode 4 again. But this one redid Episode 4 for some reason, and it took some things from the evacuation from Hoth and shoved it in there. But the thing is, the evacuation from Hoth took place, the entire battle took place on the planet. The only thing they did with the space stuff was just run away. Alright? They used the ion cannon to blow up the Star Destroyers and run away. That was all they did in space. Everything else took place on the ground. And then you're forgetting about the illogical bullshit about let me think about it. It's the Dreadnought being a moron and not shooting the obvious targets that are about to jump into hyperspace. I don't care if they have a hyperspace tracker. You could have blown them up right there. They could have died. You could have killed Leia. You could have killed Poe. You could have killed the bomber fleet. You could have killed everybody that was in your way. And then, but it's not even like it would matter anyway. They're such a tiny, minute force. Yes, you would want to beat the shit out of them at every moment, but you could have just fought the ground battle. You could have gone down to the ground base. You could have fought them there. That's how the movie could have started. But Ryan's like, no, I don't want people comparing this to Episode 5. I'm going to bring in Episode 4 to do everything for me, because it starts off with that same musical cue. And then Poe's by himself fighting the fucking Dreadnought. Like Episode, and then it's fighting the Dreadnought like in Episode 6 when Wedge and the team are trying to get onto the Death Star. And it's just, oh my god, dude, what are you saying? But at least he gave Ben Shapiro an audience. That was pretty sweet.
You're attacking a dreadnought by choice. What, because they both feature a war going on?
Oh, now you admit that the Dreadnought thing was a choice that they made beforehand. Because this is something Red Letter Media pointed out in not only the Plinkett review, but in other things they've talked about The Last Jedi in. That they, that the entire bomber fleet was out there ready to attack in the first place. They were waiting for Poe to do all this stuff in. The entire drama, the second half of the movie, was all for nothing because Leia forgot about the entire plan in the first place. She has no idea what he's doing, as Plinkett said. Alright, the bombers were already out. The slow-ass moving bombers could not make it back to the ship before they got blasted out. Why don't they have hyperspeed? Why can't they go hyperspeed anyway? Why can't they jump into hyperspace? Why don't they have that engine? Alright? Come on, man. Fucking Halo did the hyperspace stuff better than you could. Jesus Christ. But you're forgetting, you're saying that you're finally admitting that's by choice. And you're not even, I don't even think you're consciously doing that. Because you're saying, you were already saying previously, oh my god, Poe being a dumbass and getting everybody killed. Yeah, that was such a good thing. No. Poe did not make a decision that got everybody killed. He made the right decision. He made the absolutely best choice for the Resistance in that situation. You want to know why? Because there was no way those bombers could make it back to the ship in time before everybody got blasted. And by no means did those bombers have a hyperspace engine. So they were going to die either way. Poe, in his leadership role, helped them to attack the Dreadnought. He took out the fucking guns, went to attack the Dreadnought, and despite the fact that the Dreadnoughts were made of fucking paper, as Maj0r put it, they were able to blow it up. And he was making the right choice. And then he got chastised for it because Leia has no idea what she's doing. That or Rian Johnson had a brain aneurysm while writing and forgot how to logic. So, I caught you. I caught you.
Space. Look at the title of the frickin' series.
Are you shitting me? I just did a Picard facepalm.
And the intro of this film leads into what is arguably the most character-driven space battle we've seen in the series.
The most character-driven space battle I've ever seen. Bullshit. For Poe, maybe. For one character. But for the aspect of everyone, no. Because all the side characters fucking die. The lady who blows up the fucking Dreadnought fucking dies. The other Asian lady who was in the spaceship fucking dies later in the movie. We have no side characters to get attached to. There is no Wedge. There is no the guy who was with Lando in episode 6. We don't have a character-driven emotion from that because we only follow the perspective of one fucking dude. Hence why he is a POV character. That is not character-driven when all of your people die and you don't get a chance to know them. We knew Wedge all throughout episode 4. Well, not all throughout it, but when we got to the Death Star run in episode 4, we got to get used to him. Then we saw him again at Hoth. Then we saw him again at the Death Star battle on Endor. Okay? We knew him. We knew his character. Which is why it was really impactful when he and Lando were fighting together to take down the Death Star. But we don't have that. Poe's literally by himself except for one other alien. And that alien barely talks. I don't even know that character's name. And I saw him in episode 7. He was one of the guys who fought with Poe to blow up the Super Death Star. But you barely talk to him. You barely see him. I think the entire Death Star battle from Poe's perspective only took like 2 fucking minutes to do. Like, Jesus Christ. Such ridiculous bullcrap.
They had no sort of explanation to why there was gravity when they were dropping bombs from the plane. Right. Oh my god. The bombs had little red lights, signifying there was something electronic going on within them. And the Last Jedi Visual Dictionary explains that they are magnetically drawn to their targets.
You don't say. One good argument, but you don't say it in a fucking film. And you're also forgetting the fact that the fucking cockpit opens up into space and there's no force field protecting the person from space. And they don't have a spacesuit. They're fucking dead, man. They would be getting sucked out. Okay, once again, I'm going to Maj0r's critique of The Last Jedi. Force field. Have a little electronic voice saying, force field activated. Force field activated, okay? Force field. Done and done. Have a thing that says, okay, magnetic field, okay? I'll give you this one, but you're forgetting a couple things. They weren't explained in the movie. Just because there's a couple flashy lights on the things, there's a couple flashy lights on my precious, doesn't mean that that was an adequate enough explanation. And top that off, those things are completely ineffective when compared to that of a Y-Wing. If those things went up against Y-Wings, who were not only faster, but could get the job done twice as fast, you'd be fucked. Okay? The only reason those bombers were there in the first place was so that way Rian Johnson could jerk himself off to his World War II films. Alright? And I love World War II films. Alright? World War II films, awesome. If you want to do that, great. But do something else with it. Like, here's the thing you could put the bombers in. I don't know if I've talked about this earlier. If you want to use the bombers, make it to where, like, this is, like, really low-tech technology. This is all really low-tech stuff that this primitive society has from some, like, generations on. And they're broken down like the speeders on Crate. And, you know, you're having to fight this First Order ground force, and they're using it on the skies. That would make a lot more sense to use it then. Like, have people use the Y-Wings, and we haven't seen Y-Wings for 2 films. Now, alright, but anyway, you could use the bombers, just don't use it in space because it's ineffective there because everything goes faster than you. Okay? Do you not remember the TIE Fighter bombers in Episode 5? Those things were kind of fast. Alright, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original, had the bomber class ships. You can do a lot of damage with them. Come on, man. You gotta pay attention to this shit.
And also, who gives a shit? It was a good film, but I didn't care for the lack of bomb science exposition.
What the fuck are you... Jesus Christ. That's like... You're saying that that was the only explanation that he gave to why he didn't like the film. What the fuck? What the fuck? Dude.
The whole thing on the island, the beginning part of the island, was terrible. It was all just terrible. Luke gets the lightsaber, right? Tosses it over his shoulder. What's your... To me, that felt like the director just going like this to fans because we had waited so long for that moment. It was supposed to be something monumental, not something that was just played for jokes. You're telling me that Luke throwing the symbol of the Jedi Order off of a cliff, basically saying that the Force is bigger than just the Jedi, bigger than lightsabers, wasn't monumental enough for you?
What the fuck? Who could get that you were making such a monumental stretch? This is a lightsaber Luke has not seen in decades. He lost his hand that was holding on to this thing on a fucking cloud planet. He lost his hand holding on to that thing. He lost it fighting against his father. You think he'd want to know where the fuck somebody found it? You think he'd want to know, hey, how the hell did you find that? I did not get that implication that Luke Skywalker was telling Rey, go fuck yourself. Or, that was Rian Johnson telling you to go fuck yourself. What that dude said about the middle finger, exactly right. Because so many people were wanting Luke to come back. We didn't get Luke back until the last 30 minutes of the fucking film. Jesus fuck. That was literally the director saying, oh hey, I'm going to piss off a lot of people and I know it, so I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, that single motion, him throwing that off that was for slapstick. There is a reason why so many people do not like the comedy in The Last Jedi, because that was a slapstickian moment. All Luke did is he looked at the lightsaber, looked at Rey, throws it off his fucking, goes over his fucking shoulder, goes to his hut, slams the door, then Chewbacca pushes it down, bitches to Chewbacca, one of his best friends, gets told that Han is dead, and then runs away without getting a reaction shot to his face, knowing about what happened to Han, and then goes sucks the giant fucking milk titties of some goddamn space monster. No! That was not the realization that I was getting from that scene. That the Force was bigger than the Jedi. In the development of the lore aspect, yes, but he says that later. He says that later on, when he finally starts training Rey, which he did not do. Jeez, I don't understand. What are you talking about, man? You were making such a monumental logical stretch from a pattern of events that was set against all previously established lore. Alright? There's a reason why so many people think that the good and evil aspect of Star Wars has been absolutely killed to make a morally ambiguous gray. And that's why so many people did not like that moment. Because it went against everything that happened in the previous films.
And when J.J. Abrams set it up in The Force Awakens, and everything sort of that we knew about Luke and Rey, and that story of them, coming together.
Oh, my precious moment of Luke and Rey meeting. This means everything to my religion.
Oh my god. I want to punch my computer. This is ridiculous. Some of the most ridiculous stuff I've ever heard. How is it that he finds this stuff true? I don't know. I don't fucking know. It's just... what the hell?
What did you want the moment to be? Some corny, oh, thank you for returning my weapon.
What I would have said was, where the hell did you find that? Didn't have a slightly comedic exchange saying, we found this. I was sent to bring this back to you so we can come back and all that stuff. You can have an explanation. You can have Luke Skywalker be Luke Skywalker for once. You have him talk about something. Don't just make him run away crying like a little bitch. Okay? This is one of the big things too. Luke Skywalker was never one to run away. And that was one of the big things that one of my friends, when we were in high school together, told me about The Force Awakens. This went against a lot of the stuff that happened in the movies and in the extended universe, was that Luke was not one to run away. He never ran away from his problems. He faced them head on. Yes, he was still a whiny bitch in the first couple of movies, but he grew. He grew into a wise person. Right, Luke never ran away. And in this movie, just like in other movies, just like with other characters in this particular movie, they turned Luke into Shinji Ikari. The entire moral of the story was run away like a little bitch. Okay? But here's the thing, they don't have the excuses Shinji Ikari did for having to run away. Right? I said in my Patrick H. Willems critique that they turned Poe to Shinji Ikari. And I also say right now, they turned Luke into Shinji Ikari. But they don't have the excuses Shinji did. You know what Shinji went through? Spoilers for those who haven't seen Evangelion. Skip forward a couple minutes. Because this is some real shit. Okay, Shinji Ikari. Born in a world. He was born in a world where fucking Antarctic ice cap got exploded because some dumb fuck touched this body of an angel and blew the entire fucking continent up, causing the sea levels to rise and the earth to warm up dramatically to the point where people were, getting slaughtered in certain parts of the country so that way they could make room for others. And so his mom, who's developing the Evangelion project with these giant mechas, gets turned into orange liquid right before his eyes. Alright, he sees it all happen on a computer monitor. As a 3-year-old, 3 or 4 years old, he sees this shit happen. And then guess what happens after that? His dad freaking turns into the biggest douchebag on the planet to him. He's, says he doesn't love him, calls him a whiny little bitch. And he's just a kid. He doesn't know how to deal with this. What kid wants to deal with the guy that much of an asshole? No one. And it hurts them a lot. And then, he never got along very much with people. He was very distant. He didn't know how to communicate with people. He barely had any friends. And before the events of the first episode, he was living with his teacher. And then when he gets called back, basically gets blackmailed into doing it by having an injured Rey at his side. He's like, if you don't do it, she's got to go back out there. And he realizes that he's being used as a tool by his dad. But he goes anyway. But Shinji, at certain points in the series, because he's went through some insane shit, along with getting mind raped a couple times, still persevered, but he still ran away. And Luke actually decides not to run away, but he does it in the most lazy way possible. But Shinji, he ran away. And I can't necessarily blame him when you look at his past and the things that happened to him in the present. But Poe stays as a whiny little bitch. Luke grows from that, but he still cops out. So Shinji running away has more justifications than Luke wanting to run away. Alright? And Luke would not kill his fucking nephew. He would not try to murder his fucking nephew. Now, I would think, as Mark Hamill put it, Luke would, regroup within about 6 months, but he wouldn't sit on a bumfuck island for years doing absolutely nothing but meditating. I think Luke would be trying to find someone to help. I think he'd be communing with the Force Ghost. Which is weird, as when we see Luke talking to Yoda in The Last Jedi, he's like, oh, Master Yoda. Like, he hadn't seen him in like 20 years. Kind of like how Obi-Wan and Darth Vader met in Episode 4. Like, we meet again at last. It's kind of how that felt. So it's just, oh my god. I might have to do a deep character video into Shinji Ikari now, because goddamn.
So many great memories I had with this. No, he didn't want the fucking thing. And also, just because people in the theater laughed at this moment does not mean that it was just played for jokes.
Tell that to Ryan Johnson, who said that a lot of the stuff in the film was played just for jokes. Stop trying to put this deep philosophical subtext onto it that is absolutely no merit onto it. This isn't The Matrix. This is The Matrix sequels, where the philosophical subtones basically make no fucking sense and don't really do much to anything for the story. Whereas the philosophical subtext in The Matrix actually helped the story a lot and made it really deep and layered and complex. Whereas the themes here don't add up to anything because we aren't given enough time. Despite the fact that this is the longest Star Wars movie to date, you're not given enough time to absorb anything. And that's why the themes suck. That's why the theme sucks. That's why that Berlin in particular sucked ass.
Go watch the scene again and look at it as a serious moment, and it's dramatic. I mean, he has every reason to throw that thing. Who is this stranger showing
every reason to throw it. Right.
up on my doorstep, basically, with this lightsaber that brings back all the dark memories that ruined me?
And then he uses a clip of his green lightsaber. The thing that ruined my entire life was getting my hand chopped off. Even though a few years later I came back to whoop ass with a different lightsaber. And then I used that same lightsaber to nearly kill my nephew. Why did he... What are you saying?
It is shocking, and this is where you know this film is going to be interesting. It also sets the theme for the whole film. Screw the Jedi. They didn't know shit. And also...
Okay. I do not like the fact that this film shits all over the Jedi. I don't. This is one of the reasons why I don't like the prequels, was that it shits all over the Jedi. It turns the Jedi into these basic incompetent fools who have no idea what the fuck they're doing. Whereas where we were told and shown through Obi-Wan in Episode 4, and then through Yoda in Episode 5, that the Jedi were extremely wise. Now, there are certain aspects from the prequels I will take and put it into the originals, but will not take the hubris that the Jedi Council had. Alright? Because I didn't like it. It went against what Obi-Wan was saying. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. And they were wise. Yes, he may have been misleading in that aspect, but then you go to Yoda, and Yoda's talking about all this stuff is you don't use the Force to attack. You only use it for defense. Kind of like what Avatar Aang's developmental stage. All right, so to see the Jedi fighting these huge battles in the Clone Wars is kind of distracting. And, then you had the books that came out after the fact, and after the original trilogy ended. It had all these different stories, and then George Lucas said, fuck them, I want to do something else. Granted, he was wanting to do something different, but he didn't do well in execution. So, it's all complicated in that aspect.
If Luke didn't want to be found, why did he leave a map to where you could find him?
Right, because that didn't happen.
What? That didn't happen? Are you kidding me? I'm gonna do a Daryl Watcher beer. Are you kidding me? You're fucking serious. You're fucking serious. Oh my god. That didn't happen. The entire map, the entire MacGuffin of the entire movie in The Force Awakens, the entire point of BB-8 in the film, the entire being of the entire movie was trying to find the fucking map for Luke Skywalker that he left so people could find him. He left that map. It was stated. He left the map. Hence why it was in R2. ER made a good point in this video. His critique of The Last Jedi. It basically says that Ryan basically said to himself, fuck The Force Awakens. He simultaneously throws a lot of shade on the movie, but he also simultaneously pretends that it never happened. And he doesn't even try to keep it in continuity because he's trying to make his own film. And that's something I think a lot of people can agree on, is that Rian Johnson didn't care about The Force Awakens. He continued the story, but he forgot a lot of the finer details that made up the movie, which is why it feels out of sync with the rest of the series, why it feels out of sync with TFA, why The Last Jedi is seen as a black sheep, and a big black sheep at that.
Leaving the map in R2 was a theory that I actually did hope was true, because it would have explained why R2 turned on at the last minute of Force Awakens, but Luke never takes credit for that at any point in the film.
Because Rian Johnson didn't care. He doesn't make any mention about the map at all. That's the whole point. That's the whole reason people don't like that, plot hole. Because that is a plot hole. Alright, it was very clearly inferenced. You didn't have people explicitly say it, but you could tell from subtle motions and some character dialogue that Luke was the one who did it. Luke was the one who did it. Who else would have? He didn't tell anybody where he was going. Why wouldn't he leave it in R2? Alright, there's this funny gag in ER's video too, where he voice syncs for Rey. He's like, dude, what the fuck about this? We got this map sent us to you. That this was the entire plot of the last movie. And then Luke's like, go away, you fucking bastards. So it's like, Jesus Christ, I'm feeling like Kyle's mom here. Just doing this.
If he did and actually wanted to be found, yeah, it would be an entirely different movie.
They should have honestly named this movie Star Wars, the Strong Female Edition. All men in this film, for the most part, took a backseat to women, to the strong women, which they shoved down our face time and seen again. Every woman's just a strong, powerful woman. I'm just like everyone from they are in, oh my God, this movie.
Man, who broke your heart? Yeah, the whole third act of...
Okay, strong female protagonist he. He's using this one to make it seem like the amazing Lucas, who I'm not sure about still. Make him look retarded. But he is right. What he is saying is right, that everybody takes a backseat to the whammons. Hence why people do not like the strong female character archetype that's being perpetuated by modern media, because it doesn't work. There's no justification for why. It's just they're there. Admiral Holdo is the most incompetent admiral I've ever seen. Admiral Akbar dies so that way her character can take his reins. That's the only reason for her existence. So that way she was a literal character. She was a plot device to fuck with Poe. She has no reason to be a character. Right? She's not a character, as ER put it with Asami Sato in his critique of Avatar: The Legend of Korra. You know, she was just a plot device. She's not. Now everything is a plot. Everything that Holdo did was, just to fuck with Poe. She didn't have any real bearing on the story. Because you could cut out her entire point of the film, and that would make the movie flow a lot better. Or you can have her be like an underling to Akbar, and she helps coordinate with Akbar trying to figure out what the hell's going on when they're trying to do the stuff with the tracking device and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of other different things you could do. You just took the laziest route, and instead of having Akbar, a fan favorite character, have a point in the story, you fuck with them to the point where, he had no bearing on the plot whatsoever. And then Rey. Oh my God, she's better than Luke Skywalker at everything with no training at all. She has no training, yet she can lift rocks. She can look into people's souls a lot better than Luke could. She can fight a lot better than Luke can. Because she's gone 2 movies into this fucking series and she hasn't lost her fucking hand yet. All she's gotten was maybe a couple cuts on her arm or her face, and that's it. Whereas Luke got the shit kicked out of him in the first movie by Tusken Raiders. Nearly got choked and drowned to death by a fucking slime monster in the Death Star. And then fought pretty difficult odds to blow up the Death Star, pulling off a 1 in a million shot. Then episode 5 gets the motherfucking shit beaten out of him, and then taken to be eaten by the snow monster. Cuts that motherfucker's arm off, nearly freezes to death in the snow, only to have Han Solo come and save him. And then crashes onto Dagobah after the entire battle on Hoth. Goes through some really deep and scary shit on Dagobah. Gets visions of his friends nearly dying. Decides to go out there and try to save his friends. And then gets his hand chopped off. Whereas Rey, what happens with Rey? Here's what she does. She's a desert girl, living on her own, doing whatever the fuck she wants to, except that she's not really doing that. She's just a scavenger who knows so much about ships, I guess, but that's never shown or explained. Whereas with Luke, you could tell that he knew a lot about this stuff because it was shown to us and explained. She can do one-in-a-kind tricks with the Millennium Falcon despite never flying an aircraft like that. And there's also, I want to call out this guy on Instagram by the name of Plo Koon, who was saying that, oh my God, Rey is like Mary Sue because Rey can fly the Millennium Falcon no problem, even though it's explained that she has like a flight simulator thing. I'm like, they don't show that. Is that in a novel or something? Like, they don't show that in the movie. So even if they did explain it in the novel, they don't show it in the movie. So And then after that, after Rey, beats the shit out of him, and then she can perform tricks better by herself. Right? She doesn't have a co-pilot. She can perform tricks better than Han Solo and Chewbacca ever could. Then she teaches Han Solo more things about his ship than he ever knew, even though he was on that ship for years, for decades. Gets captured by Kylo Ren after seeing the lightsaber and running away like a little bitch. Then she ends up outperforming Kylo in force torture. Finds out how to freaking mind trick people. Escapes on her own with no one. Shoots a bunch of motherfuckers. Beats the shit out of Kylo. Then goes to find Luke. And then throughout the entire movie, the only real struggle she has to go through is nearly drowning. That's the only real struggle she really has to go through, is nearly drowning in that one part. But then it cuts to her all of a sudden not being underwater. Even though it could have shown the struggles. Oh my God, I need to get out of this thing. Like, oh my God. But they don't do that. Okay, this has gone on long enough. I'm at 18:25. Jesus Christ. Damn it. Maybe I should try to contact Maj0r, Rags, and Dishonored Wolf. Maybe we could respond to this thing together on the EFAP. That would be pretty fun. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Oh my God, I'm freaking getting drowsy. Hopefully this cold weather isn't gonna kill me. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Don't die. I'll see you soon.